Aloha! My name's Allison Higgins. I own Grace Flowers Hawaii, and I'm going to show you a few things today. We're working on weddings, and we're working on personal flowers, and this is with Hafna, the Neotropica sort of initiative to incorporate tropical flowers into really everyday designs, but we're going to focus on weddings. I actually am starting with something that's not as common. We're going to be showing some earrings, and these have a lot of little tiny detail. This is one that I've almost got finished. I am going to touch it up a little bit, but you can see I put it on a little gold earring clasp. So just like that, and touches like that can make wearable jewelry really fun in the floral realm. I even put a little tiny gem in it to sort of catch the light. So this one, what I'll probably end up doing is just kind of go through, make sure the flower held up, because I did manhandle it a little bit. So I'll be going back over that. But this is the base I started with. And this was found at our local just craft store here in Hawaii. You know, there's only a couple choices, but you can get it online. And same with the earring clasp, just clasp it on. And what I'm gonna do to start this, because I want it to be pretty identical, I'm gonna go ahead and do the design. I'm using some floral glue. And this technique is something that actually we learned with Francois Weeks when she came. And a lot of, you know, body jewelry for floral wear is used with this cold glue, and I was very skeptical. I'm a hot glue girl myself, but I've converted to cold glue. And I've got this beautiful white gomphrena that's grown locally on the Big Islands. And I'm gonna put that in, and it's just kind of going right into that cup. And I'm looking back, and that one's a little bigger, so I'm going to push it in just a little bit so that they're similar sized. And I'm going to go and push that other one in there. So I've got these gompphrenas. So we're doing right there. And next, what I've got, I'm going to go with a little bit more glue over in the crevices, because the worst thing you can have is body jewelry that the flowers fall out. You know, you don't want that to happen, especially on your wedding day. That it's an embarrassment for the bride, but it's a big embarrassment for the designer. So you want to make sure your mechanics are solid. So I'm looking at this one down here, and I've got these tiny little Achillea flowers. Yarrow is also what it's called. And I'm gonna tuck them in there and see how I feel. I think I'll need a little bit more. And I'm just gonna cut the tiniest bit, which is a little hard to do one-handed, and I'm gonna push them in right in there. And you wanna hold it a little bit, just hold it a second, make sure the glue dries. And I've got these beautiful little straw flowers, so I'm gonna cut them. Again, tiny, tiny. This is kind of precision floral work. Oh, and I'm gonna just dip that into the glue. So I got a little piece, and I'm gonna slide it in there. And actually, I think push it a little bit. There we go. So you can see, let's make sure we're not gluing anything else together. There we go. You can see it's a pretty fast design once you get the actual mechanics and the basis done. For the mechanics, I used the gold wire and I hooked it. There's actually, when you get into doing jewelry, you can buy the little loops and take them apart and actually do it more proper, but I am going to add next a pikake. Pikake is a Hawaiian Jasmine, and their fragrance is beautiful, just like the jasmine flower. And I'm gonna cut a piece, and this one, the stem's pretty soft, so I'm just gonna dab a little glue and pull back what I've already glued because I want it tucked in. The reason I didn't do it first is because I did that for the last one, and I think it needs to be shorter. I did that for the last one. I did the Pikake first, and it ended up getting a little bruised, so I'll probably have to replace that. So again, a little glue. And this Pikake is a little open. If you have the Pikake bud, that would work also. And it's great because you'll still have some fragrance. It's not going to take a ton of Pikake. I'm going to tuck some yarrow in. I put a dab of glue on the paper, and I'm just dipping it, almost like you dip in paint. And I'm going to build this up just so that it kind of fills up the space more. And then what I did for the other earring is I used the little sparkly stone. They come on a, they just come on a chain. You can pick out what you like. I liked this one because it kind of had a little gold glimmer. And then I have the gold wire. This says brass, but to me it's a bit more gold. And I'm cutting a tiny bit. These clippers are great. They cut wire as well as flowers. And I've got my needle nose pliers. And I'm going to bend a tiny, tiny little hook like that. And I'm going to pull it down so that it anchors in. There we go. Oh, it's got to be anchored more than that. I lost that one. Some little girl maybe will find it and find it as a precious gem. I know my nieces would be thrilled to find a little sparkly stone. So I'm going to make that loop, fold it one more time so that it really holds that in place. So I'm doing a double fold. It held on the last one, but... And then just nip that tip of the wire. And I'm going to nip this shorter. And I'm going to use some of the glue that I put out. And I am going to slide it into my earring. So a lot of the beautiful tropical flowers we use, for doing little floral jewelry, sometimes they're big, but if you deconstruct them and use them in a deconstruction manner, just the single Pikake, or if you have a beautiful orchid, I'll show you. You take it apart like this right here, the little, we call it a tongue. That would be gorgeous as a bit of an earring. So really, when you start doing more floral jewelry, you want to start looking at all the intricacies of flowers and, really seeing, can you do something with the little petals? And orchids have so many interesting parts that they're really fabulous for that. Another thing I love using are the crown flowers. You can do so much with them. So again, for floral jewelry, even just having this earring, super cute, fun, royal. So those are my earrings, and I'll probably go back and touch it up and make sure, I'll replace that Pikake. Just kind of change things that really need it. But if I spritz this and, put in a little hydration chamber, it's gonna be good to go for the ceremony. And I am going to not wipe my glue down because I don't have a paper towel, but you should wipe your glue down. And that's our first pair of little floral earrings, just like that. And I'm gonna show you now the bouquet that I am working on. So I am doing a cascade style, and I'm working on a cascade style that is foam free. And so I'm using a technique that Hitomi Gilliam, and she's another fantastic designer. Both her and Francoise are such inspiration. And she, Hitomi, has these Mindalini extenders, and if you want to know how, you can check out her YouTube page, or is that what they call it, page, videos, and she's just fantastic. So I'll show you what we started with. We started with, this is one that we made, and again, she'll show you how if you check it out. This is a raffia based. You can use yarn or other things. So I started out kind of folding it and then making a loop here. And then I used these beautiful beehive gingers. Made a little blank in my mind for a second. These beautiful beehive gingers that have a sturdy stem. But you could use something with a sturdy stem, and I attached this to this. This here is a pin cushion. And again, these are all beautiful, locally sourced, Big Island tropicals, you know, Hafna members that just supply gorgeous products. So when I started, I attached, and I had 2 loops. I only have 1 extra Mindalini extenders. And so I'm just gonna keep on wrapping this wire. And so I'm doing that, and I just tied it on. So this is gonna be my stem. And as I was going, if I needed to attach it, I can. But this way, the extender's there, and I can wrap this however I like. I can do all sorts of different shapes. I could do a little curl. And at the end, you're not gonna see this as much. It's just gonna flow into the bouquet. And this back loop, I thought it would be neat to kind of do a different shape. So I'm gonna attach things to this side. So I'm gonna pick up the bouquet that I had, but you can see that, you know, I'm gonna pick up the bouquet that I had already started and just show you. So this is the base I started with, and I've been wrapping it with a tape right here. I really like the olive green. And you can see, so I've got these extenders, and I have an anthurium just kind of attached to that. And this over here is bind wire. Really like using it. And you just need a little piece here and there, so I'm going to cut myself a few pieces. And I'm going to continue with this cascade shape. And I think I'm going to use some linaka, and I'm going to see, they might be too big. I'm just sort of seeing with my size. I think I want them tighter in. I don't want those to be the very tip. I like to kind of go larger in the middle and smaller so that the elegance drapes down. But I do like that right there. And I probably don't need to wire it, but I could if I wanted to wire it here so it really stayed in that cascade form. But I do like that one, and once I put that one in, I'm going to want a few other of that variety. So we'll just go with a little cluster and put one more there. And you know, this piece, I'll see, I might extend some things on it, and I might not. On this one, I have the cymbidium, and I don't know if you can see, but I've wired that in. And I just have it attached to this Mindalini extender, because that way, if I want to move it, I can move that easily. And then I want to go ahead and add some dendrobiums. Beautiful white. It's a great wedding flower. I'm going to put them in, and then I'm going to go ahead and wire it again onto that extender. So I think at this point I'm going to tape a little bit of tape. I'm a big fan of tape. Kind of keeps me going. And just when I'm taping, I'm just wrapping it a couple times and pulling it off. So you see this is sort of flopping, and if I didn't have that extender, it'd be hard to get it to droop and make this beautiful curve that I want. So I'm going to And I might wire this one even in a couple different places. I'm going to put this back into my vase while I wire. And actually, I'll add one more, and that way I can wire them both at the same time. I'm trying to face them up, but you can shift their position a little bit once they're wired too. So I'm going to put that in, and I'm just going to secure it just a tiny bit. I try not to tape too much. I try to put a few stems in and then just put a few pieces, because you don't want a big wad of tape right there. You know, you don't want it to be extra thick. You don't want it to be bulgy. So I just want to put it there and make sure it's steady. I have a nice big cylinder, and I'm going to, I think I'm going to wire this one. Actually, with this one that I have the Anthurium on. So that's feeling really lush, full and tropical and beautiful. A phrase was coined a little bit, maybe a few years back, of tropical nouveau, and it's referring to the mix of tropical and temperate. And temperate flowers, I mean, temperate's such a funny word because, you know, it means the colder weather, but here in Hawaii we are blessed, especially on the Big Island, to have so many flowers. And even, you know, in the warmer weather, a lot of beautiful flowers can be grown of both tropical and temperate varieties. And I'm going to kind of just play with this. You know, I think I've got this little extender sticking out here. I might even herd them in a little bit with that and make that loop. So this would make a really tight cascade, and I'll probably have to just tame that in. It's always that one that wants to go crazy and get out of line. It's usually me. And again, I'm just fluffing my orchids, and I'll do this more as I go, but now I have that really beautiful, and I could, you know, you don't want to go too hard because you don't want to break the cascade, but you know, I could really go and put shape in there. And this bouquet can be held, and I'm not done, but you know, and when we're done, it'll be able to be held this way or elongated, you know, different ways to hold it, which gives the bride options for photographs, and that's always nice. But I'm going to, and you want to make sure when you give a bridal bouquet to the bride that the stems are dry so they don't get water on their dress. I'm always real careful. I try to take the water out when we deliver them, which is usually an hour or two before the actual wedding, and telling them, you know, if you want to keep it in the water, make sure you wipe it down so that you don't get a little dampness on your dress. You don't want to make it look like you had an accident the day of the wedding. So again, I'm weaving those in. So you see I've got this beautiful sort of start, and I just want those anthuriums to get woven in, and you know, that one's sticking out a little bit, so you just rotate it. And I'm rotating, and I'm trying to find where I want them rotated before I tape. So I think that's good. And I'm gonna tape it up a little bit. And I did not mean to do this, but I'm ombreing. You know, I'm going from my brighter colors to my light. I love ombre. I will admit it. This wasn't even intentional. Like, I love ombre so much, I ombre without even meaning to. For better or worse. Ombre for life, that might be our next sticker. And I'm gonna bring this, so I wanna make sure that this tapers. So I don't want, you know, I don't want it to be all one thickness. So I feel like I need a few more things in this area. And before I start adding foliage or anything, so I have this beautiful epidendrum, I believe. I call them epis, I don't know what the full botanical name is. And as it gets older, it creates this yellowing, which for this bouquet, you know, if a bride wants all white, you'd have to take those yellows off. But for this bouquet, I really am loving that coloring. And I'm gonna just hold it there. I'm gonna see if I like it, and you can see I have a little bit of this. This is a Phoenix Rovellini or Pygmy date palm, and it's one of our favorite palm seeds to work with because they're hardy and they have that beautiful drape. So I'm gonna cut a few off and grab those. And I mean, if I wanted to, I could even wire them and elongate and put it out there, but I think I'm gonna keep the green, these greens in a little bit more. So I sort of like that. It's kind of adding to the fullness of what I've got going on here. And again, just a couple little wraps. I know Holly Chappell created a great design. She's got the pillows. I don't know, I just like the more natural wrapping. I guess it's probably not natural, but you know, old-fashioned. I do like some new things, but a little old-fashioned too. So I've got this dahlia, and now I'm looking to see what, I'm okay with this right now, but I think I might pull this down a smidge into the realm of the bouquet. And I think I'm gonna extend some of those. These newer varieties, Greenpoint has such an amazing selection of anthuriums, and as well as Pacific Floral Exchange. Now see how this is kind of pointing out? I don't really like that. I'm gonna rotate, and I like that the way the lines are going so much more. With anthuriums, you want to pay attention to the lines because really those lines are what are going to make this arrangement. And I think before I go too much more crazy on the anthuriums, I want to decide what else I want to do with this, because I like the anthuriums resting up on this. And I have some gorgeous rudbeckias, and these are one of my favorites. I don't actually like sunflowers, but rudbeckias, I don't know why. People are like, they look the same, but they don't for me. My dad owned a plant nursery while I was growing up, and you know, I was born and raised here on the Big Island, and we used to grow rudbeckias in Waimea, Kamuela, and something about them, they're much more elegant to me than sunflowers. And yeah, I have no rhyme or reason for that. Let's see, so I'm just sort of seeing what I want to fill this space with. You know, I could even create another dendrobium and wrap it. I kind of like that. I might do that. I also, you know, when I kind of had this design concept, I thought about doing that idea with the Oncidiums. I mean, look at that beautiful, beautiful pale yellow Oncidium. Like a lot of times, so it's a newer variety. And this one here, this is also at least a variety we haven't seen in Hawaii as frequently. This one's an oranger color. So the more common variety is a mix of these two. It has the orange speckles, but it's usually a little closer to this color. So the varieties that we are seeing have just been, I mean, just been amazing and so exciting to work with. Yeah, it's a really fantastic time to be a florist in Hawaii right now. So I like this, but I think what I would do if I did this is I would trim these little side shoots off. So I'm not sure. Let's see. Yep, it's not going to break. So this stem is really flexible. I mean, you could really give it a nice little curve. A lot of times if you massage the stems, you know, I had a little bend in it going that way, but if I massaged it enough going the opposite way, I can really get it going most directions I want. It just takes patience. I have also bent mini stems doing that. Brushing my hair with a flower. Okay, so I'm going to bring this around, and I'm trying to decide if I like this bright yellow, and I think I do. And I'm going to wire it on. I'm going to wrap it a little bit. Oh. Just stick it right there. And then I'm going to wire it at the very tip so that it stays. Because, you know, you've got brides and we love them, but they like to fling their bouquets around, which as they should. So I'm always careful to make sure, again, the mechanics are sturdy. You're doing something that's going to really be secure. And I don't love this guy sticking out. This guy actually I'm okay with. We're going to leave him there. And I really did like the look of the orchids, but I think what I might do is I have somewhere, do a little dance. Oh, they're there. My bag of tricks over here. I've got some glue dots. Get that Ziploc bag out of the way. I'm going to get a little glue dot, and I can do several things with my, looks like a contact lens, but don't try that at home. I can put my glue dot right here, which is one of the things we use to secure the raffia actually to this. And I'm going to take a dendrobium, and I can even just glue dot it right there. So I'm going to get some of those dendrobium feels without the full stem. And, you know, again, as long as you keep this hydrated and keep it fresh, it'll stay looking good for a pretty good amount of time. You'd be surprised. And I'm going to put another one here. And again, take my dendrobium. And I can see that stem, so I'll just get that stem off. Pinch it off with my thumb, and I might even go back and do a few more along there, sort of see how it goes. So I've got that. I'm gonna go and put another Rebecca in, but I'm gonna actually pull this anthurium out because I really want to show you. Look at this anthurium. It's got a little baby, and it's, I mean, the color, it's so beautiful. This is a Maui Bride. They're one of our favorite varieties in my shop because of that just kiss of blush. You know, a lot of brides still really do like using the blush and white color scheme. And so having these tropicals that are these softer colors is so amazing. It's just made such a difference. When I first started doing floristry, when I was a lot younger than I am now, there weren't these sensational varieties. There were a lot of reds. You know, there was some different spotted ones, and they were really cool. But brides didn't want to use these bright, bold colors all the time. You know, a few of them did, and there are brides that like that. And I mean, I like them too, but sometimes for weddings, you just want this softer, gorgeous look. And so it's very exciting to be able to see this product coming out with just the breeders and the varieties I'm working with. I've got these 3. I'll put my bouquet down and show you. Yeah, my bouquet is getting a little massive. We have a saying at my shop, go big or go home. So aside from COVID, we haven't gone home yet. But, you know, these 3, and this is what I'm using in this. So we have this stunning centennial variety, and they don't all have the green. Some are a little on the whiter side, and some are pure white, but just the elegance. I mean, look at that line. I can kind of play with it a little. I could even probably fold it down and, you know, have it have a softer look, just how that one is. And then the Maui Bride, I mean, again, I talked about it. I love it. And this one is a new variety, Lanaka, I believe is what it's called. And I mean, it's almost lime green, but it's almost cream. So it adds this, I mean, against the Cymbidium, you know, it's just look at these colors together. You've got this cream color with the Cymbidium, and then it fades into the whites. And so even if you just did a bouquet with these cream colors and the whites and didn't add the yellows, which, you know, I'd be sad if you didn't add the yellows, but a lot of brides just want the whites and the creams, and that's okay. And the color schemes are just so gorgeous. So let's see. I want to kind of finish this loop, and I think I might do one more, and I have a longer stem. I'll just grab that. So this one's really long. I'll probably have to, you know, I'm wondering if maybe I should even kind of do a little braiding on this, and I'm sure you're going to want to see that against the black. So I'm just lightly braiding it so that I don't have these quite so many stems going out of line. And I'm just, again, just real lightly braiding this down, seeing if I can get a little bit of a narrower effect. So I'm going to pick it up and see. You know, I think it's a little bit too bulky braided like that, so I think I'll instead thin it out. You know, and you never know till you try. Always striving to create something a little different. You know, we love it when our brides give us a little bit of free rein with the creativity, because it lets us just showcase the beauty of the flowers without worrying too much if it's got to look exactly like a picture. And you know, we can all do that too, but it's just so much fun to create. And I think what I'll do then is take this one out there, and I'm cutting them right above the stem, or where the flower comes out, so it's not noticeable. And I think I'll just put a little bit of a secure on that. And there we go. Just like this. Yes. So that's, I mean, it's a very different, interesting look. The yellow's kind of stretching back. And I'll probably want to build this out a little more with, oh, pick up that Centennial. Don't want to disrespect him or her. I didn't ask. And so I want to keep going with this bouquet and bring it under and through that little Oncidium loop we have. And again, I'm just going to tape a tiny bit. And I'm eyeing out a Rudbeckia that I'm in love with. So this one has a green little center, and I think it'll play really nicely with the yellow I have on the Oncidiums or the popcorn orchids. Popcorn orchids are another name for the Oncidiums because, I mean, they look, especially these varieties that have the kind of color variation, look like little popcorn. I love it. And let's see. I'm trying to see where I want it. It might be too much yellow. Is there such a thing as too much yellow? I think I can tuck it in because I really love it, but I don't want to, yes, I don't want to overshadow it, but I think that works right in there. So I'm feeling like this last one needs to go in. And I just bent the stem a little bit to get that angle. But if I didn't want it to be bent, I could kind of push it. I think it'll be all right. I could probably put some foliage underneath to help support it. And I'm going to tape that up. All right. And so I have basically the the look of the bouquet that I'm going for. It's all kind of a little organic, but still a little on the tight side. I do have this, so I think what I might do is I'm gonna push it out. So now it's got wire in there, so I can sort of make the shape how I want it. And what I'll do is I'll probably glue dot some white dendrobiums on this side, but I want to get some foliage in here first. And with a lot of these beautiful tropical flowers, I like to do a mix of the tropical and the spring foliage as well. So first thing I want to add, I think, we'll see, is some lily grass. I believe it's Liriope, and it's just soft and elegant and has that gorgeous shape. And so I'm weaving it, so I'm pulling it where it comes out and going. And I've got 3 in there. I think I'm gonna go with 5 and do a few coming in at a few different locations. And I could even kind of thread it back in if I wanted to and create even more interest in the bouquet and a little weave action. So see how I had that base, I had that Mendellini extender base, and I'm able to do so much with it. Yeah, I like that. I kind of have a little stylized going on there. It sort of coordinates with the loops I have behind of Oncidiums. And I think we're gonna see how some tropical foliage looks. And this might be too bold. I don't know how the purple behind it is gonna feel with the bouquet, but it might be just what the doctor ordered. I kind of like it. I think we're gonna go with it. It's like trying on the right pair of shoes. You know, you gotta try it out and see how it fits, and if it doesn't fit, then you go on to the next option. And I'm really careful with the foliage, the leaves. I like to do them at different heights, so it doesn't look like bunny ears. Don't want bunny ears in my bouquet. And if your anthuriums have a little dust, you can just wipe it down. A damp cloth will take care of that. Or, you just want to be real careful not to bruise them because they're so gorgeous. One of the things that a lot of brides don't think about when they ask for huge, huge bouquets is how heavy they are. And we try to make our bouquets as light as we can, but especially when you get into using protea and the big king protea, we had a mother of a bride make us completely redo the bridal bouquet because she thought it was too heavy. But the bride loved it, but she wouldn't speak up. So you just want to maybe talk to your brides about that and talk to your florist about that if you're a bride, because it is something to consider. So now that I'm and I think I've got enough weight on both sides, I'm going to trim those stems up a little bit more so that they sit a little lower and more even in the vase, so I don't do a little oopsie. And I am going to, let's see, I think I might thinking about adding a little bit of crown flower, possibly. No, I think we'll just go with the orchids. And again, that was, just kind of trial and error, seeing what I felt like looked the best. I'd say one of my biggest problems, as you can probably tell, is limiting myself. I just want to use everything. But, at some point, you just gotta step away. They're almost like creating a lei feel. And I'm not, like I mentioned, I'm not super concerned with hiding the Mendellini extender because it's, it's got a raffia finish and it's beautiful. So if you see it a little bit, it's not like a jarring, green color or anything. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous natural mechanic that's super versatile, and we're thrilled to be using it. We use it in our arrangements also. So if we have like a vase arrangement, we'll take this part and put it in the vase and play with it that way, wrap vines on it and whatnot. So really, your imagination is the limit. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep on playing with that a little. And I'm not going in a straight line, and I'm doing that on purpose. I want it to play with my bouquet. I don't want it to be, you know, really rigid. So the last thing I do to finish off my bouquet is I can kind of see my mechanics and my stems in here. I'm going to get a little bit more foliage to finish it off. I have this lovely locally sourced eucalyptus, and I'm going to see if that's what I'm feeling. And I kind of, you know, I kind of am liking that. I could even pull some up into the bouquet if I wanted to, but I think for this one, I'm going to keep the foliage low, sweet and low. And again, you know, showing off the mixture of the tropical with, you know, we've got this lovely softer, more temperate foliage. You know, this leaf's got a little bit of a bruise, and I'm going to just remove it and pull some of the, oh, no, you guys can be friends, but you can't touch. Remove the leaves, and then I do have some of this, you know, really showing, which I don't mind, but I think I'll put a little something there, probably a few more orchids going up in there so that it looks like the orchids are extending and cascading down. But I'm gonna tape this one more time, and I'm gonna go all the way around this time. And I'm gonna grab my trusty glue dots. Okay, okay. And I'm gonna pinch a few more of the dendrobiums off of the stem. I like to leave a little bit of a stem there, because that way the dots have a little more surface to stick to. But you don't have to. Again, I'm always afraid that something's gonna go flying off the bouquet, and then we'll be in a mess. So I'm just always trying to secure things as best as I can. And I'm gonna put a few more, and I think maybe one or two more, and I'll show you what I'm doing on this side in a second. I just haven't gotten great at glue dotting blind yet. We'll practice that one next time. Yeah, so what I did was I just made a little line of dendrobiums right there. And so yeah, so I'm gonna take a look, and I think I'm pretty happy with it being done. I now will wrap it a little more, and before I do that though, I don't like all my stems being so uneven. So I'm gonna trim some of them up so you're not gonna see those. And the rest I'm gonna try to trim a little bit more even. And normally I have a little bit bigger clippers for this, but this will work. Okay, and so there's a few uneven stems. I'm just gonna sort of trim those out of sight so my stems look more uniform and tight. And what I like to do is then I wrap it down a little bit more to where that unevenness ends. And of course it's a bit easier to do on a smaller bouquet, but we can make it happen. I'm really pushing the stems together a little bit more so it's easier for the bride to hold also. And I'm getting it ready because I'm going to wrap it with ribbon. So that's kind of, you know, what it looks like right there. And I am going to grab my ribbon. And what I have right now is actually some silk by Adorn. They're a company on Maui that does silk ribbon. And I've picked out this gorgeous natural nude tone. And I'm gonna just finish it with that. And I could do trailing or I could not. And what I'm doing is I'm placing it there and I'm holding it with my thumb. And I'm gonna wrap it around. And I love the look of silk because it's a little more organic feeling. It's just got a more natural feel to it. And I can wrap it up as far up as I want, really. And so I kind of see a little tape. I don't like that, so I'm pushing it under so my ribbon hides it. And I'm almost out of this color, so I'm just going to use it all up and do a few that aren't quite stretched, so it's a little more natural. And I've got my end sticking out. And with my end, what I like to do, I pull it, make sure it's tight. And sometimes we'll dab a little hot glue because brides are nervous Nellies a lot of the time. And they like to pick at things. So I've noticed if you glue it down, they can't just pick it out. So it has a nice clean end. It's not going to be frayed. And I'm going to take those pins, and I'm using a short. You can see how short that pin is. And I'm just going to pin it in. Make sure you get it in a stem. And again, if you have a hot glue gun going, this is where I like to just do a little dab so that the bride doesn't pull those out, you know, during her walk down. So you can see that's a nice finish. It's folded off so she can hold it. The stems are short enough that she could kind of hold it as a cascade, or she could hold it armature, you know. She can do so many things with it, like, you know, so it's a fun shape. And you can kind of, like I can see how that's wired, kind of take the whole thing and push it down even a little bit more so that if she really wanted a more pronounced cascade, you can give that look for her. So that's a bridal bouquet. And yeah, I'm gonna make something for the gentleman. Whether you've got 2 grooms or 2 brides, you know, there's usually some men in the bridal party, and this is great for a groom too. This is just a piece of cardboard, and it's gonna go into a pocket square. I don't know the exact dimensions of the pocket square, so I'm gonna cut it a little on the narrow side because I want it to be able to fit into the pocket. And these, I'm just gonna go in. If you have an X-Acto knife, you could probably do this real fast and easy with that. But I'm thinking this might be too wide for an average pocket. So I'm gonna be real conservative. I'm gonna cut it down. And like I said, again, so I could do 1 or 2 things. I could keep that like this and fold it. So this is gonna be the front, right there. And I don't think I'll want it quite that wide. You can always extend it with flowers. So I can do that right there, and it'll just slide in the front pocket. And I thought there's a couple different ways I can make this stay really good. One of the ways I thought was that I could even cut it and just wire them together so the only thing flapping is the wire. So I'm always worried that the pocket's gonna stick out. See, it's gonna wanna do that. So what I'm gonna do just for today is I'm gonna put a little puka or hole right there. Again, take my little bind wire. And I'm gonna take my bind wire and put it here. And that way, when I put it in, it'll just go right inside there. I'm gonna cut that excess. And you're not gonna see this. So the next thing I want to do is I wanna cover all of this. I wanna cover it so that, you know, when the groom gets it, or the groomsman, or the father of the groom, they're not gonna see cardboard, you know? So I am gonna take this gorgeous leaf, I'm I'm going to get back in touch with my inner glue. I'm going to grab a paper to glue onto. Put my earrings over there. Okay. So I'm going to take the leaf and I'm going to cover the entire thing in the leaf. And the reason for this is, even though the cardboard's going to be in the pocket, if it comes up, I don't want them to see cardboard. I don't want them to think, wow, well, I guess I know where they got that base. You know, I want it to look really elegant. So I'm cutting this leaf off. I'm de-ribbing it. And we make tea leaf lei. This is how we do the lei also. We just cut that off because it's a lot thicker and harder than the rest of the foliage. And I love the stripe pattern. So what I think I'll do is I think I'll do it this way because I can always trim it down. So to start off with, what I'll do first, I'm going to put that back on in a second. Now that I've got an idea of what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take my glue. See, I didn't wipe the glue down earlier. There we go. And I'm going to put a little on my cardboard. I don't need a ton. And I'm going to lay my leaf on it. And again, even though this is the inside, it's not going to be seen, I still want to really, you know, make it look elegant and professional as far as even just the inside goes. I'm going to hold it there for a second. And then I'm going to fold that up. And I'm going to do a little more glue action. And I'm going to hold that for a few seconds till the glue dries. And you can see it's not perfect. I'm going to cut it and I'm going to fold that over. So next what I'll do, I want to cover the whole thing. And this is a Calathea leaf. It's got a really stunning pinstripe variegation that we love. The Calathea actually sometimes don't hold up as well out of water. I'm hoping mine do okay in the bridal. But, you know, glued, they can't curl. Sometimes there's a variety of Calathea they call the prayer plant because it curls up. But they make beautiful arrangements nonetheless. So because this is sticking out a tiny bit, I'm just going to cut it just like that. I'm going to fold that. I want to make sure, again, it's secure. There we go. So again, this part is going to go into the pocket, and this is the front. So, you know, I've got some really cool, fun things. This is kind of your palette. You can just, I like to sort of glue a section, and, you know, I can go with the Gomphrena, so it matches the bridal earrings we did earlier, and just kind of hold them. And the main thing I'm concerned about right now is sort of hiding my mechanics, hiding the cardboard. I can touch it up afterwards too, but I'm just having fun with the Gomphrena, really getting them close and clustered. And I'm out of glue on that surface, so I'll put a little more on. And I really am liking that asymmetrical design just going down. And again, you want to wait till the glue dries so they slip a little bit. So yeah, and I think I'm going to just finish that with the Gomphrena. I have it up here. Just do a little more. And as I get to the top, I want to hold them a little bit longer so that they stay in place. I like this one with the big leaves. The leaves really pick up the glue well. There we go. And so now I'm liking just having a little bit of a stripe on there in the background, so I don't know that I'm gonna cover all of that. You know, it really gives me the feel of a suit. So I think I might do some crown. What else can we add in here? I'm thinking some popcorn orchids might be a good accent too. I have these little pieces that I rejected earlier, and now we're going to bring them back into play. Okay. Just a nice little pop of yellow with a little crown accent, and I think I'll rim the rest with yellow too. So we're kind of going over the crown so that the flowers are really playing with each other. And what I'm going to do is that's going to be my background flower. I'm going to put something else right here. And I think maybe one more crown flower. So there's little two crown flowers. There's a little ant on it, so I sort of pushed him off. And that's a little bit too much glue. You want to kind of get just the right amount of glue, which is always difficult. And I'm going to hold that last one in place. And I think this edge comes up. I think I want a little bit more. If I've got more gomphrena, I think I have one more. I want to go right up in that corner. There we go. Yep, and you can play with it. You know, you can kind of go, I can see my mechanics, so I want to finish it with something else. Trying to decide what. I'd love to use a few more orchids, but ooh, I like that. So these were the rejected orchids that I took off because they're a little too pale for the bridal, and I'm gonna use them, even though they're a little on their way out and faded, you know, still giving them a chance. And because this is the part that's really going to be sticking out of the pocket, so I want it to be, you know, I want there to be something there sort of sticking up out of the pocket. And I think maybe one more crown. Okay. Of course, if you had a jacket pocket to put it in while you're designing, that's always easier. But I'm gonna rim the bottom with something also. I think maybe some olive leaves. And this might open a whole nother can of worms. We will find out. Sometimes you think you're finishing something off, but it ends up you're not. And I'm going to hold that until it dries. Just a few seconds. Nope. Didn't have quite enough glue on that side. There we go. We've been doing a lot of Floriculture flower like dresses and stylings at my shop, so we're really getting into the wearable flowers. You know, in Hawaii, lei is such a huge part of our culture. So we wear flowers for birthdays and special occasions, and it's just something that's just really nice to do. Just that little pause with the cold glue. The hot glue is a little bit faster, but not quite as precise either. So that's kind of finishing it off. It's a little pocket square. Something fun, tropical, but you know, it still has that nod to softness. And yeah, so this is an option that, you know, if you have a groom that doesn't want to lay, but doesn't want a boutonniere, but still wants to have something floral, this is a fun option. And again, it would just slide into the pocket. And so it goes really well with the earrings. And if your fingers don't have glue, you can touch things so much easier. But yeah, so that would match. So we kind of got a his or hers set. And with the bridal bouquet, you've got a nice little set of personal flowers here. And that's kind of just some different ideas on wedding flowers. Thank you so much for hanging out, and yeah, get creative. Use tropicals.